Hello, folks. This is Mark, and welcome to another episode of the Dr. Mark Foster Show. Today I will be talking about the subject of COVID-19 and its relationship to the Marxist concept of the contradictions of capitalism, and why I think in particular COVID-19 is so bad here where I live in the United States. I am in the state of Kansas, suburban Kansas City on the Kansas side, although I'm originally from New York City, which was the epicenter, or has been the epicenter for COVID-19 in the U.S. Kansas has not seen that many cases, relatively speaking, of COVID-19 yet, but no one knows what will happen in the future. The question is, however, to me, why has the United States been at the epicenter of COVID-19? We have literally become the laughingstock of the world. As some people around the world have pointed out, the United States used to be a country that people looked up to, and now it is a country that many people are taking pity upon. And I think there is certainly a good reason for that. We as a country, especially at the federal level, have handled the coronavirus very poorly as a result of the federal mismanagement of COVID-19. State governors have pretty much been left on their own. Some governors have done better than others. Governor Cuomo in New York City has done particularly well. In a sense, some people have said that he has become America's governor. He has stood out there as an alternative to all of the chaos which seems to prevail on a daily basis out of the West Wing in Washington, D.C., but no one is quite sure exactly why that is. Well, here is my own Marxist perspective on that. About 3.5 years ago, Americans elected a capitalist, albeit an unsuccessful capitalist, as President of the United States. Now, I am not going to make a political statement on my views about the President of the United States, other than to point out that he is a capitalist, and a poor one at that. One whose businesses have gone bankrupt multiple times, who as a child, because of his bullying, was sent by his father to a military boarding school, someone who had to be bailed out by his father, Fred Trump, whom I remember from my childhood, since I am from New York City myself. Fred Trump, who in his youth was active in the Ku Klux Klan, and who at one time, I believe it was in 1938, was arrested at a Ku Klux Klan rally that was held in New York City, although he was never prosecuted for some reason. But he certainly was present at that rally, and he must have done something which caused him to be arrested. That is the background in which Trump grew up. When Trump worked with his father, running tenements, low-income housing projects in New York City, which Donald Trump no longer runs, the instructions that he and his father would give to the managers of those complexes included that if anybody came in who was African American and who applied for an apartment at that complex, that manager was to put a C next to the person's name, a C for colored, which was the polite term back then for somebody who was African American. That way the Trumps would know not to rent the apartment to that person. Now, the Trumps were sued multiple times successfully by African Americans for housing discrimination against people of color. It is perhaps no accident that Trump became, in effect, the father of the birther movement against former President Barack Obama, arguing that Barack Obama was born in Kenya or Indonesia or whatever other country I guess somebody might have imagined, and not the actual state of Hawaii where he was born. Supposedly Trump had all this evidence that he had accumulated from all of his supposed investigators that he sent out to look into the situation, and Trump was going to imminently reveal that information to the media. Of course, that never happened. Why? Well, obviously, Trump was lying. And as we have known or observed over the last 3.5 years, Trump is a pathological liar. He lies all the time. The media has cataloged all of the lies that he has made, sometimes in a single speech, sometimes in a single paragraph. He will have many lies in that sentence or paragraph. So the problem is that we have, as the President of the United States, someone who has engaged in institutional racism, in personal racism, someone who is a capitalist, and a poor capitalist at that, and someone who is a pathological liar. From a Marxist perspective, capitalism is a dying system. Now, there are different perspectives that exist among communists. Some communists, of which I am not one, argue that communism is inevitable, that surely communism will be established at some point in the future. To me, that is not the case. I see no reason to believe that communism will inevitably be established in the future. I certainly hope that it will, but do I know that? No. What I do think is inevitable, and what I have felt for many years is inevitable, is that capitalism will be eliminated. The capitalist world system, which I talked about in my podcast yesterday, is going to be completely wiped off the face of the earth. What it will be replaced by is anyone's guess. Now, my hope is that when communism is eliminated, that people will rise up with revolutionary fervor and struggle to establish a communist world system to replace the present capitalist world system. But I am not a precognitive or a prophet, and I have no way of knowing whether that will happen. The reason why I feel I can confidently assert that capitalism itself will end is because I see it ending. That is something that I can directly and empirically observe. And now we see that process accelerating, especially with COVID-19. COVID-19 has shown that the emperor, in this case Donald Trump, has no clothes. That the United States really has no power. The power that we thought the United States has, or had, was purely illusory. It's not real power. It's simply power based on a lie. On the lie of trickle-down economics. That somehow if the rich get wealthy, that wealth will trickleate, or as the economist Ricardo said, percolate down to the poor. Well, that is simply a lie, which was brought back by Ronald Reagan in the United States and Margaret Thatcher in the United Kingdom when they re-established the old liberalism from pre-1929, which is now referred to as neoliberalism. So what COVID has done is it has shown how the contradictions of capitalism ultimately cannot be resolved. For a long time in the US, the Federal Reserve, globally, the World Bank, the IMF, or International Monetary Fund, have worked hard to prop up the capitalist world system. Suddenly, because of COVID-19, and especially the mismanagement of COVID-19 where I am in the United States, that can no longer be done. And so, although the rates of COVID-19 appear to be declining in some places, particularly in the New York City metropolitan area, it is increasing in others, including where I live, here in the state of Kansas. And most epidemiologists and virologists and public health experts are predicting that there will be a new wave of COVID-19 in the fall and winter. And there is no evidence that the United States, and perhaps some other countries as well, are adequately prepared, or will be adequately prepared, when COVID-19 strikes us again. So I think that this situation of COVID-19 is the ultimate contradiction of capitalism. In other words, a situation which was caused by capitalism, caused by mismanagement, caused by the fact that here in the United States, the wealthiest country in the world, we have no guaranteed health care for all citizens. We can certainly, like some other countries have done, guarantee paychecks for all citizens who have been, due to no fault of their own, displaced from their jobs, a paycheck. That could be done here, but we haven't done it. And so many people are genuinely suffering. I am grateful that I am not one of them. But who knows what may happen in the future? I may be in those ranks in the future, for all I know. Who knows? Regardless of me and my own situation, the situation of people I know, the people in my extended family, the situation of the United States in particular, I think is going to become increasingly unstable. As we know, instability, political instability, leads to problems, sometimes wars, other types of conflicts. And so my view is that the times that we are living in right now are the final moments, literally the final moments, of the capitalist world system. I don't think that we have that much further to go until we see capitalism totally in ruins. That concludes this broadcast of the Dr. Mark Foster Show. This is Mark signing off. Have a good one.